Hello creeps! Andy here, and I did not realize that it was already summer. So every year I do my summer book recommendation. Well, I guess I do them for every season, except spring. Anyways, so I have put together a list of, I think, the best horror or thriller books that I've read this year that are perfect summer reads. So if you've seen all of my wrap-ups at the end of the month, you'll have seen these books, but this is a cohesive list of summer reading that I think will be perfect for this hot season. I got the blue lights on, you know, like water, summer. And I'm also incidentally wearing like the perfect summer shirt too. That was not planned, but it works. But anyways, I've broken these books into 3 separate piles. One pile are just like fun, easy reads. The next pile I think get a little bit darker and more horror. And then the third pile are like the more disturbing books. So I've tried to include something for everyone. And yeah, so here we go. Oh, I'm really excited. I'm starting with like the fun, easy reads. So the first book that I want to recommend is The Sundown Motel. This is by Simone St. James. I read this month, and I gotta tell you, it reminds me of a Darcy Coates read. Like, it's just fun and easy and fast-paced. It kept my attention the whole time. It's a really interesting story of a woman that has gone missing, and then her niece, like 20, 30 years later, coming to figure out what happened to her. And she works at the same motel that her aunt went missing from, and you get to see how the events, you know, unfurl from there. But there's a little bit of everything in here. There's some mystery, there's some suspense, there's some supernatural stuff, but it doesn't overtake the story. Like, it's very in the background and mild, and I loved this book. I thought it was so fun. It's perfect for summer. It takes place in September is summer, yeah? September, yeah. I guess there's a little bit of each season in here because it ends in November, but a lot of the majority of it is just like hot and warm and, you know, summery. And that's what these books are. They're not anything any deeper than like they take place in summer, or they're very hot, or, you know, they have something to do with water. Yeah, so I think this one is perfect for summer. If you guys love Darcy Coates, pick this up. I think you'll actually really, really enjoy that one. The next one that I have is Burnt Offerings. This is by Robert Morosco, and this one is just the easiest read, and I didn't know how I felt reading it because it's nothing like really is happening. It's a very like slow-paced story of a family that goes on vacation to this like big beautiful house that they didn't think that they could afford, but surprise, it's just in their budget. And so they rent out this house, and there's more to the house than meets the eye, and creepy things happen, and you go from there. But it is like a less intense version of The Shining, or I would equate it to like the Shirley Jackson, I always call it House on the Haunted Hill, even though I know that's not what it's called. What's it called? House on the, you know what I'm talking about. It reminds me of the Shirley Jackson book too, and the more I think about my experience reading this, the more I'm like, oh, that was a fun read. It's perfect for summer. It's hot and it takes place in summer. So it's just interesting to see, you know, the origins of a lot of those more haunted house type stories. This was written in '73, so it's an older book, and I think worth the read. The next one I want to recommend is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I read this one for the first time this year, and honestly, it really blew me away. Not even so much the story, because I'm sure when it was written, it was written in '75, so I'm sure when it was written, it was like, you know, a new age cool story. By now, everybody knows the vampire stories, and so I wouldn't say that there's anything necessarily original in here when it comes to vampires. But I would say that the way that it's written is really impressive. The descriptions of people and the way that Stephen King's able to keep so many different characters separate in the reader's mind is honestly like, I think is a huge example of why he is Stephen King and why everyone loves him and why he creates books that are so magical, because this book really impressed me the way that it was written. Not so much the story, it's not particularly scary or creepy or weird, but the writing is so impressive. So if you guys have, you know, time to read a 600-page book and you've never read Salem's Lot, I suggest picking it up. All right, next up we have Into the Water. This is by Paula Hawkins, and this is a story about a woman, a mother, who jumps off a cliff and loses her life. There are some people in town that think she did it on purpose, and there are some other people in town who think that there's maybe some more sinister things going on than what people realize. A while before that, a young girl had jumped off the same cliff and lost her life, and so they're trying to figure out kind of what's going on. I really enjoyed this story. It's told in kind of a roundabout way, and you don't really get all the information. Everyone's lying and being weird and hiding something. It does deal a lot with women, topics relating to women, like they do discuss women being drowned, you know, back in the day for like not doing what they were supposed to and things like that. So it does revolve around women topics, so keep that in mind if you're going to pick it up. But besides that, I really enjoyed this. It's told from varying perspectives, and you get kind of a little bit of the story in each chapter, and I thought this was a great read. Those are my easy, fun reads. Now let's move on to, I think, like the middle ground, a little bit more disturbing, a little bit creepier, a little bit harder to read stories, but fantastic. This might be honestly my favorite section. So the first one that I want to talk about is Blackmouth. This is by Ronald Malfi. I just read this one last month, and so if you watch my reading wrap up, you'll have seen me talk about it there. And this is arguably my favorite book that I've read this year. Truly amazing book. It's about a young boy. It's about a man who's struggling with addiction, and he comes to meet back up with his childhood friends to discuss what happened in their childhood, because some things aren't adding up and some creepy things happen that he doesn't quite understand. So they meet back up to kind of figure out what happened. I don't want to give too much away. The back is very vague. I went into it not knowing anything and just fell in love with this book. The writing, incredible, phenomenal. There's more deeper meaning of things in there, like there's talk of struggling with addiction and childhood trauma, and there's a lot to unpack, but also just really messed up stuff happens. Like, it is a pretty disturbing, fun read. And I also like that it kind of toes the line at some points of supernatural or reality, and you as the reader kind of get to determine what actually happened in the story. And I think that addiction really plays and feeds into that as well. So brilliant book, like truly one of the best books I've ever read. Fantastic. If you pick up any book that I recommend this year, pick up Blackmouth if those things seem to interest you. The next book, The Surgeon by Tess Gerritsen. Again, this is a book that I keep talking about because this book just blew me away. It was so good. It's about a man. He's a serial killer, and he murders women and steals their uteruses. And then he was shot dead, and then another serial killer pops up, and so it seems like he's maybe following in the footsteps of this killer, and so they're trying to figure out who he is. You have detectives on one side, and then you also have the victim who killed the first serial killer in this as well. So it's a really interesting story. Such a great, fantastic, just like cop detective, you know, story. So if you're looking for something like that, highly recommend picking this up. You guys know I've talked about this a million times. That one definitely deals with tougher issues relating to women. Also, from the description, I'm sure you got that, so keep that in mind. And it is, you know, a little bit more disturbing than the first round of books, but highly worth a read if you want something a little bit creepier. And then the next intermediate book, I would say, is Tender as the Flesh. This is by Augustina Bastrica, and this, again, is a book that I've talked about all year. It's blown me away. I absolutely adore this. Now, know that this book is not for everyone, okay? I mean, all of these arguably are not for everyone, but this book, if you want something like to dig a little bit deeper and try to find the meaning beneath the surface, this is the book for you. If you just want a surface level fun read, skip out on this one. But if you want to do the work and figure out what this book means to you, I think it's wonderful. It's about a virus that has infected animals, so we're not allowed to eat livestock, supposedly. And the government ends up creating human meat to consume and creating humans as like a product to eat. And man, this book goes on like a whole tour of like what it's like to work in that meat facility of humans. It's a pretty disturbing read in that sense. And it's told in such a mundane, oh, this is my life, this is my job kind of way, that it makes it even more disturbing. And aside from that, I think that underneath it, what I got out of it was comments on society and government and how we treat each other, and I think that there's a lot more to the story if you dig a little bit deeper. So know that this isn't for everyone. You kind of either love or hate this one, but I absolutely love this. I thought it was such a great read. So now let's move on to, I think, the more disturbing reads, and that's these two right here. The Troop by Nick Cutter. This one is about a group of Boy Scouts. I actually am not sure if it takes place in summer, but you know, just camping out and stuff reminds me of summer. But it's about a group of scouts that go out with their scoutmaster. A sick man arrives and kind of all hell breaks loose from there. This wasn't my favorite book ever, but I wanted to add it to this list because so many people love it. And so what I will say is, if you're just looking for a disturbing, gory read, there's nothing under the surface, it's just like to entertain you with blood and guts, then this one is definitely for you. If you want something else, then maybe pick up some of these other books, but a lot of you guys absolutely adore this. I enjoyed the read, don't get me wrong. Yeah, highly recommend this if you just want blood and guts and a gory good time. Pick this up, yeah, why not? And then the last book that I would recommend to you guys is Knock 'em Stiff by Donald Ray Pollock. Now this is not my favorite Donald Ray Pollock book. My favorite is definitely The Devil All the Time. I will highly recommend that book to everyone, anywhere. But this one is, I believe, his first novel, and I still did enjoy reading it. And there's a lot of messed up stuff in here, and I feel like it's not as perfect of a story the way The Devil All the Time is. But there's enough in here, I think, to keep you entertained. And I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you're a fan of The Devil All the Time, if you like Donald Ray Pollock, I think that you'll enjoy this. This is kind of on the same level of The Troop. Like, if you just want a messed up read for no reason, then pick this up. It's about a small town called Knock 'em Stiff, and just the most horrendous things happen to children from their parents, or children from their siblings, or there's so much that goes on in this story. It's disgusting. It's really gross. You feel like you need a shower after you read some Donald Ray Pollock. So I wanted to recommend this to you guys in case you have already read The Devil All the Time but haven't read that one. I would say, yeah, pick it up. It's not as good as The Devil All the Time, but it's still a great summer disgusting read. So there you have it. Those are my summer recommendations, my thriller horror reading recommendations for this year. Like I said, I will leave all of my previous years linked down below. So if you guys want even more recommendations, last year I did a lot of sea monsters type books. The year before that, I don't even remember. And I think I even have a summer horror movie recommendations video too that I'll link down below as well. So hopefully I have you supplied with content for the summer. Hopefully you have found something to read, or you could watch those videos and find something to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful in some way. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time with another horror video. Bye guys!